Here's a tutorial on how to make a felted bangle bracelet.
Bracelets. Start out with, I'm using a piece of hand-painted roving from DHG. It's merino. And if you notice, each pull, I'm crossing over the last one. Now the secret here, I'm going to put one more at this end. The secret here is not to go more than 8 inches, okay? I'm going to actually switch to the other end and add another color this way. And a third row. And a fourth row. The reason we don't want to go much longer than this is we want it to fit around our wrist. We don't want to make it so big it doesn't fit. Now the secret to this is you're going to wet just the center. Don't wet those outer edges, because that's where you're going to connect it. So leaving a third on each side, a little less than third, fluffy. Okay. I'm going to start rolling the greener end because I'd like a little more of the red to show on the outside. But the green will be sort of peeking through. And then roll it in that same direction a little bit. Try to keep your ends dry as you can. If you've got a little bit too much water on your mat, just blot some of that off. And then gently start rolling the middle. You don't want to squish it flat, so if it's going flat, you're putting too much pressure. It helps if you curve your hands a little when it's really mushy. Some people wear rubber gloves at this stage or plastic gloves, because plastic, your hands are porous, and if you're rubbing with your hands, you can tend to make the wool a little fuzzy in the final stages. So a lot of times, the very end, I will rub it with plastic quite a bit. But you notice the ends are quite fluffy. I'm only rolling the middle. I'm going to roll it until it feels pretty. It's also spreading out. If you notice now, I'm out to 11 inches. I'm going to move to a little bit drier spot. Move over here. I don't know if you can see it, but okay, let's join these ends. The best way of doing it, dry your hands first so they don't make the fibers stick together, is splitting it apart into almost 3 sort of tentacles. Splitting it apart, 1, 2, 3. And now you're going to cross them with ease, joining them and crossing them at the same time. Got plenty of water in here, but I'm going to add just a little bit more so I have plenty of soap in there. And this part's a little tricky. You want to hold this up and roll very gently. It should feel like it's rolling. If it's not rolling under your hand, turn it a little. I just squeezed a little excess soapy water out. But turn it a little until you can get it to roll. It's very mushy at this stage, so keep doing that until you get that join to felt. So felting is a 2-stage process. The first part is the whole thing is called felting, but the first stage is felting, and that's where you're joining the fibers like we're doing here. But it's still too mushy. It's what's considered a pre-felt. The final step, when we start adding more vigor and really rubbing hard, is called fulling, and that's when all the shrinkage happens. All the magic, I like to say. So I don't want it to get twisted. I'm going to keep it going in the same direction. And now you can pick it up in your hands and roll it again. I'm cupping them just a little bit so that it's not flat. You don't want it to go flat, you want it to go round. This is the shaping part of it. It's still quite soft. If yours is too soft, continue rubbing it on the mat, because if you pick it up and work with it too early, it'll stretch out. So I'm going to rub it on the mat a little more. Mine's a little squishy. But the cupping of the fingers really helps to shape it round. And as you go around, continue that shaping. Okay, I hope you can see that. So continue doing this until it feels firm to you and has shrunk down considerably. Mine needs a lot more work. See, it's still squishy. The more you do it, the firmer it will get, and you'll get to a point where you almost can't misshape it anymore. It's kind of felted in that shape and it's not changing. One thing I like to do is, when I get them to this stage, actually, it's holding together really well, is set it aside. Like if I'm making 10 of these, let's say Christmas is coming and I want to make some gifts. I'll set it aside in this stage and let it rest overnight. And tomorrow, when it's almost dry and it still has soap in it, I'll just add some warm to hot water to it, and then there comes and then finish fulling it. There comes a stage where you can actually roll with your fingers and your palm, both sides at the same time. It's kind of fun. But I really like to full it like this. You start rubbing it harder and harder between your hands, and just keep turning it again so that it shrinks evenly in all directions. And that end is sort of wagging, but that's okay too. It's hitting the back of my hand and it's helping to full it like you would be dropping it on a table. And then the final shaping, which this isn't quite ready for it yet, but the final shaping is, you want to make sure that it's round this way. So go around and shape it round that way. And then you also want to make sure it's round this way. You can put it on the bottom of a cup if you're not good at shaping it. But try not to get it flat on the inside. Don't rub it too hard against the cup. Or if you shape it round around a cup, take it off and do what I'm doing. Use your thumb and forefinger to shape that back to being round again. So there you have it, how to make the bangle. This one is with hand painted rovings, so that it has different shades of color vein running through it, kind of a hint of green, but mostly a lovely red.